Most people believe their past is something they left behind, a collection of distant memories stored somewhere in the mind, fading slowly with time. But the truth is far more complex and far more intimate. Your past doesn't live in your memory. It lives in your body. And while your mind may have forgotten certain moments, your nervous system never did. It remembers everything, every tone of voice, every moment of fear, every emotional rupture, every silence that felt like abandonment, every instance where you had to shrink yourself to survive. Your body has been carrying the story you stopped reading. And what's most surprising is that these emotional wounds don't return as memories. They return as reactions. They return as tension in your chest when nothing is wrong. They return as a sudden need to withdraw when someone gets too close. They return as overthinking disguised as preparation, or as exhaustion that appears out of nowhere. They return as, "I just don't feel comfortable," without a clear reason. The wound hides, but the body speaks. This is why you sometimes feel emotions that don't match the moment you're in. You may experience anxiety in a peaceful environment, distrust in a safe relationship, or sadness without an obvious cause. It's not irrationality. It's residue. Emotional residue. Something your body learned long ago and kept repeating, not out of weakness, but out of loyalty. Your nervous system is always trying to protect you, even when it misinterprets the present as the past. And that's the paradox. Your body reacts not to what's happening, but to what happened and was never resolved. Perhaps you grew up in a space where emotional expression was unsafe. Maybe you learned to hold everything inside because releasing it felt dangerous. Maybe your body learned that being too visible meant being judged, or that asking for help meant being ignored. Maybe you adapted by becoming quiet, becoming independent, becoming emotionally self-contained. But adaptation is not healing, it's survival. And survival patterns don't disappear simply because life improves. They remain in the muscle memory of your emotions, waiting for any familiar signal to activate. This is why small things feel big, why neutrality feels threatening, why calm feels unfamiliar, why love feels overwhelming. Your body is scanning every moment, every voice tone, every silence, comparing it to its stored database of previous danger. And when the pattern matches, even slightly, your body reacts instantly, long before your mind understands what's happening. You're not overreacting, you're reenacting. Reenacting old threats in new situations, reenacting old fears with new people, reenacting old wounds triggered by tiny echoes of the past. And none of this is your fault, because you didn't choose the wound, but you inherited its memory. And the most important truth is this: your body isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect the child you once were. But the life you're trying to build now requires responses from the person you are today, not from the wounded version your body is still defending. And understanding this is the first step toward liberation. Even when the mind forgets, the body remembers. Because every emotional wound you've ever lived through, every moment you felt unsafe, unseen, dismissed, or overwhelmed, became more than a memory. It became a rule, a silent, internal command that your nervous system follows automatically without asking for your permission. You may think you've moved on from something because you no longer think about it. But the body doesn't track events. It tracks patterns. It memorizes how you felt, what you feared, what you needed but didn't receive. and what you had to do to adapt. And with each repeated emotional state, the body built a rule book. Don't express too much, it's not safe. Don't trust too deeply, people leave. Don't rest, something bad happens when you relax. Don't hope, disappointment hurts too much. Don't need anyone, needing leads to pain. These rules are not logical, but they are powerful because they're stored not in your thinking mind, but in your physiology. Your breathing, your heartbeat, your muscle tension, your posture, your impulses. This is why certain things trigger you so quickly. Your body reacts before your mind understands what's happening. A tone of voice, a facial expression, a moment of silence, a shift in someone's mood. And suddenly your chest tightens, your stomach flips, your jaw locks. Not because of the present moment, but because your body is bracing for a danger that already happened. In childhood, these responses kept you safe. They helped you survive environments where you couldn't leave, couldn't fight, couldn't speak, couldn't express. The body did the only thing it could do, adapt to the pain and learn to anticipate it. But what once protected you is now suffocating you, because the body doesn't know the difference between then and now. It only knows what it learned. And so you may notice patterns like you shut down emotionally when someone gets close. You overthink small interactions. You apologize for existing. You get anxious when things are calm. You sabotage relationships that feel too good. You freeze when conflict appears, even mild conflict. You feel responsible for other people's emotions. You expect rejection before it happens. You prepare for loss even in peaceful moments. These are not personality traits. These are wound responses. They are echoes of the younger you, the version who didn't have the power, the language, or the emotional safety to understand what was happening. And here is the silent tragedy. Your adult life is being shaped by a body that is still protecting a child who learned to shrink, to hold back, to stay quiet, to stay small, to stay alert, because it was the only way to survive. Your body isn't failing you. It's loyal, ferociously loyal. It is still guarding you from dangers that no longer exist. But loyalty can become a prison. And until you recognize these wounds not as weaknesses, but as unfinished survival responses, you will continue obeying rules you never consciously chose. This is where healing truly begins, not by thinking differently, but by understanding the silent agreements your body still believes it must honor. There's a moment in everyone's life when the mind decides, consciously or not, that something is too heavy to hold, too painful to face, too overwhelming to process. And in that moment, the mind pushes the experience away, buries it, hides it, wraps it in forgetfulness. But the body never forgets. The body becomes the archive of everything you were unable to understand when it happened. Every emotional wound you were too young to name. Every moment of fear you didn't have the tools to navigate. Every silence that felt like rejection. Every raised voice that felt like danger. Every goodbye that felt like abandonment. Your mind suppresses. Your body stores. This is why certain sensations appear out of nowhere. The sudden tightness in your chest, the anxiety that doesn't match the situation, the heaviness you feel when nothing bad happened, the unexplained tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach when someone raises their tone. These reactions aren't born in the moment. They are echoes. Echoes of wounds that were never acknowledged. Emotional wounds don't disappear with time. They wait. They wait for a familiar pattern, a familiar tone, a familiar fear, something that resembles the past closely enough to activate an old survival response. And when that happens, the body reacts instantly, long before the mind understands what's going on. You tell yourself, "I'm over it." Your body answers, "No, we are not." This is why healing is so confusing. You try to change your thoughts, but your thoughts were never the source. They were the defense. The root is stored deeper, in the places where language never formed. Your body learned to contract when love felt unpredictable. It learned to freeze when conflict felt dangerous. It learned to shrink when expressing yourself felt unsafe. It learned to numb when feelings became overwhelming. These reactions weren't weakness. They were strategies. Strategies your nervous system created to protect you when you needed protection the most. But what protected you then is imprisoning you now. Because the body doesn't update itself automatically. It doesn't know that you grew. It doesn't know that the danger is gone. It doesn't know that you survived. It continues to respond to ghosts as if they were real. Your heart races at memories your mind can't access. Your muscles tense at emotions you can't name. Your breath shortens at triggers you don't understand. And you blame yourself for overreacting, when your body is simply completing a story that was never allowed to finish. To heal these emotional wounds, you don't need to force the body to forget. You need to help it feel safe enough to release what it has been holding for years. And that process begins with understanding one profound truth. Your body is not your enemy. It is the part of you that carried the pain you were not ready to hold. It didn't fail you. It protected you. There's a moment in every healing journey when you realize something profound. Your mind can lie to you, but your body never does. The body tells the truth long before you are ready to hear it. And if the wound was created in silence, the healing begins with awareness, and not dramatic breakthroughs, not sudden transformations. Awareness, steady, quiet, and persistent, is the force that dissolves what survival had to freeze. Because emotional wounds don't release through understanding alone. They release through felt safety, and felt safety is built slowly. When you notice the tension rising in your chest, and instead of suppressing it, you breathe into it, the body learns. When an old trigger appears and you stay present instead of collapsing into the past, the body learns. When you recognize a familiar fear but choose a different response, the body learns. Safety is not an idea. It is an experience repeated until your nervous system finally believes. We are not in danger anymore. This is why healing takes time. Not because you are broken, but because your body is cautious. It needs consistency, not intensity. It needs truth, not performance. It needs slowness, not force. And the most powerful shift happens in the smallest possible moment, when you interrupt an automatic pattern with a conscious choice. That single moment becomes a crack in the emotional armor that kept you stuck for years, a small opening where light gets in. Over time, these cracks connect. Over time, the old emotional blueprint loses authority. Over time, the body stops warning you about dangers that no longer exist. You begin to breathe differently. You react differently. You choose differently. Not because you are forcing yourself to change, but because your system finally understands that it is safe to change. And that is the turning point. Your body, once trapped in outdated instructions, begins writing new ones. Your mind stops replaying memories as predictions. Your emotions stop echoing a past you no longer live in. This is not about becoming a new person. It is about returning to the person you were always meant to be, before the wounds shaped you, before the fear trained you, before the silence taught you to hide from yourself. You do not heal by erasing the past. You heal by teaching your body that the past is over. And if this video touches something in you, a memory you don't talk about, a tension you always carry, a sadness you learn to manage alone, I want you to write one sentence in the comments. My body is ready to heal. Not as a declaration, not as a performance, but as a signal. A new message your nervous system has never received before. Because the moment you choose healing consciously, your body begins to choose it with you.